So we've got to the point now where we're going to decorate our inside covers. So I've already made a start. So what we're going to be doing is a pouch which has a waterfall on it made using the flip-flap dies. So these are the large Walrus whisker ones, and we're going to need to make 4 of these. So let's move that out the way. So if you've got an A4 piece of card, if you cut it into quarters that way, you'll get your 4 out of it easily. But chances are you're going to have scrap pieces from cutting out your pages and things, which you can cut out. So move my decorative bits to the side for now. So that's all I've done is I've taped my flip-flap die towards the top. So the curved bit is towards the top, giving me all this extra bit here. I've sent it through the machine. I've already done it to save some time. And what we've got then is our flip-flap cut in, but not here because that's the score line. So you can take scissors or you can just pop it off. So now we want to cut off these little bits and straighten it all up. So what I'm going to do, forget about that line, don't line that up because your die might not have been straight. So what I do is I put my fingers here and I line up the edge of my cardstock of my die cut there and trim. Flip it over, line it up with the cutting blade again and trim. So as I said, there's a score line here, so I'm just going to find that score line. I'm going to get my Teflon tool and I'm going to burnish it well. Okay. Now we don't want all our waterfalls different size, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that score line and I'm lining it up at 1 inches. So now I've got a 1 inch flap. So let's do that again. So I've cut my die in, just pop off that waste. I'm going to line up the die cut bit and cut off that excess on the top. Flip it over and do the same. Cut. So now I've got a nice straight continuation. Find that score line. Finish it well. Bring it in and line up that score line on the 1 inch. And carry on until you've done all 4. Okay, so I'm opening that last one up and these 3 I'm keeping folded. And I'm going to take my tape and I'm just going to tape underneath the flaps. So I'm going to do this on 3 of them. So they're all the same. Now this last one, I'm not going to put the tape on. I'm actually going to put it on underneath. And this will just tidy up my last waterfall. Okay, so I've got my waterfall pieces. I now need somewhere to put them onto. So I'm going to make a pouch. So this is the pouch that's going to go onto the inside cover. And it is 4 1 2 3/8. So 4 3/8 by 8 7/8. So if you go to 9, just go back 1. If you go to 4 1/2, just go back 1. And what I'm going to do, That's my piercing tool from earlier. I'm going to score 1/2 inch, rotate 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch down one of the long edges. Okay. I'm now just going to cut a V shape. So I'm just going up towards that crossed area and then chopping it off. Okay. So just how I make all my pockets when I want some depth to it. You'll see in some of my other videos. I'm now going to fold and burnish it well because I want it to lie quite flat. Now if they are meeting, that's all you got to do is cut it off at a sharp angle, but I've done quite well there. Let's just add our tape. I could have added this before trimming those corners. It would have given me a neater finish, but it's a bit late now. Okay. Now I want this now to go on this side. So I want my, so that side's going to go towards the spine. So this is my open end. This side obviously is the opposite way around. So, yeah, double check that. Okay. So let's take off the tape. Let's add some glue. Just get it right up to the edge there and up to those corners. So I'm just going to turn it that way so my spine is down the bottom. Now when I come to do this, making sure my taped bit is here, I don't want to cover that spine. So I'm going to find out where that tape ended. Bring it back and just come in a hair's breadth, line up the top and bottom. Now I've got some glue on my fingers. Just wait for it to dry and just rub it off. Okay. So those are my pockets done. So I'm now going to take my first waterfall. Now I'm going to add some glue. This is not for strength this time, this is literally for wiggle room. Because what I'm going to do now, actually I'm going to do it this way again. I'm going to line up the top corner and place it on. Okay. When you're doing this, make sure you're not going over that score line again, otherwise your album won't fold. So my second one now is going in. So I'm going to open this up. Now I'm treating this more as a guideline than anything. I'm going to bring it up, I'm going to line it up again and stick it down. And my third one, so it's more important that you line it up with a pouch rather than this cut line, which you might not have done straight. See, I've gone with that faux line instead of ignoring it. There we are. And the last one, you might remember, we actually put the tape underneath. That now is going to hide our workings. So I'm going to butt it up, not covering that score line. I'm going to come down a tiny little bit. And that is your waterfall. So I've taken another of my pages of my 8x8, and I've cut this one at 7 3/4 of an inch tall, and then just cut in half at 4 inches, and these are going to be our liners. Now I don't put any tape on this because the tape would grab, and I want to try and get this underneath my pouch. And again on this side. So again, I'm trying to get it underneath. And underneath it. Like I said, tape would have grabbed it before I get it. Okay, so now I'm going to take the decorative part of the flip flap, and when you get your 8x8 paper, when you cut it into 4x4, you'll get a piece which just fits there. So what I'm going to do is make sure that this blade is covered. There's quite a bit of a distance between the edge of the die and where the blade is, so you can easily get 4 panels from your 8x8 page. So you can see how close we get. So I'm just going to ink the edges. And we can just stick them down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back my square photo slot. I'm lining it up top and bottom because that's the same height, and then just centering it left and right. And this is going to give me some extra spaces for photos. Okay, so I've got my 4, so I've got the bird. I'm going to need these now for this side. So I'm going to feed them into here. Now, if I look at this one, it actually paper matches, so I'm actually going to put that one on the top. So let's stick that one down so we get a nice perfect mat. So now I want one of the stripes. And so these two will paper match. And I need one more square. Yeah, take it out from one of my other pages. And those are our waterfall pieces done. So I've got one more piece of card, so I could use that side or that side. So I'm going to cut this now to cover this rectangle and all these little slots there. So I'm going to make it 3 3/4 wide. Let's just get this out of the way. So let's do it here. And this one needs to be 3 3/4 because we've got the 2 covers to do. And I'm going to cut this at 4 5/8. 4 4.5 and an extra 8. And then these little bits just need to be short, just a bit shorter than 1. So it's 7/8. 7/8 and 7/8. So I'll just do the one side for now. I can do the other one later. So I'm just looking for my ink. Misplaced my sponge. So what I do now is I'm going to ink around and I'm going to glue these just in place there. So I'll be right back once I've found my inker. Okay, so I've inked my edges, and whilst I was doing that, I've glued down those strips. Now you may notice I've got nothing on the backs. That's actually intentional. What I plan to do is to cut the mat and layer straight from my photographs and sticking them on the backs. Otherwise, I'd have too much bulk. So I've glued them, but I haven't glued this bit down yet, because this now is when you decide how you're going to keep your waterfall closed, because otherwise when you open up this side, all these bits are going to fall and catch. So I want it down. So one way is to use the belly band die again and make, just grab it. If you cut it off there, you could have that and a magnet there. You could tie some ribbon underneath this one and just tie them up there. But I'm going to use some magnets, and this does use quite a few magnets, so it is a considered method, but I quite liked how it turned out. So I'm just going to take a magnet and I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the back, and I'm going to stick this as far down as I can. Okay. Now I want to check. Now I need to take it a little bit closer to the edge. There we are. Now my second one, I'm actually going to stick onto the back of this flap. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift them up. It's that way, so my tape is on a bit facing me. Sorry, no, not, it needs to be the other side. So check your magnet first, which way it goes, that way. So I'll need the tape on this side. Okay. Now this is where I have to be careful because I don't want that tape to stick quite yet. So I'm lifting my pages together, I'm pressing them, and there we are. So when they lie flat, that's when I want to stick it down. Okay, so it's sort of floating, 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 and I let go there and it jumped. So those two now, when they're shut, will hold together. So now I'm just going to do the same now on the next one. So I want to tape on that side, the bit which is going to touch the cardstock. Oh, let me just double check. Okay, so it's that side. So again, I'm floating it, floating it, floating it. It'll find it. There we are. Doesn't seem to be sticking. Don't think it went to the right place. So this is a fiddly one, but the end result is worth it, honestly. Ah, there we are. So it wasn't in the right place for me. So let's try it again. So we're floating. So you heard it pick it up there. Now it's in the right place. So you can see these three now are sticking down. So the last one. Okay. So just putting some tape there. It's a bit too much. Actually, we don't want it overlapping. So now let's just have it floating in there. I heard it jump up. So you can see the magnets are slowly approaching that side. That little bit I had left over, I'm going to use that now. So the last one is just going to go onto our base. So now let's just cover that. So what'll happen now is that'll clip on, that'll clip on, that one will clip on, and that one. And it's all held. You can see the difference between this side and this side. So when you open up your album, it'll all be kept nicely magnetized there. So I'm going to do the same on this side so that they both match.